Now, today I will start the third unit, structural analysis. See here, uh, it is important thing, and here, without attending this, you will not get idea of this structural analysis. Some concepts of the structural analysis you have studied in first unit, that is, you have solved step bar problems and tapered rod problems. Here, it is same type of things, but in first unit you have taken only axial load. Here we are considering all types of loads, all types of loads. And in first unit we have derived equation on the basis of the principle of potential energy. Same approach we are using here, but principle of minimum potential energy we are modifying here. Okay, and we are deriving the stiffness matrix for element, that stiffness matrix is applicable for all types of elements. Means in first unit we have derived it for one dimensional element. Here we are deriving for one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional, and any type of element. That means stiffness matrix which we are deriving here, that is applicable for all types of elements. Okay, and then we are formulating the finite element equation. That formulation or that formulated equation will be applicable for all elements as well as all types of loads. Okay, that means here we are deriving the general equation, general finite element equation, and it is very big equation. Okay, and then we will apply it for one dimensional structural problems. Okay, that means one dimensional structural problems by considering all types of loads, and there are certain numericals. Here we are considering thermal loads also. Okay, now this is the content of this topic. Okay, or these are the some important questions of this topic. Now first one, for structural analysis, before going to start this structural analysis or finite element method for structural problems, we should know the basic concepts of the elasticity. Actually it is not part of the your unit. Okay, but without these concepts we cannot apply the finite element method or finite element analysis for structural problem. Now, what are the basic concepts of the elasticity? Basic concepts of the elasticity or basic concepts of the, we can say, solid mechanics. You have one subject in MTech design, or MTech design, and in that there are, or that is specially for elasticity, or it is known as solid mechanics. Okay. Now, the required concepts which from that subject I have taken here. That means concepts required for finite element formulation that I have taken from that books, and I am going to explain not in detail, just the overview, because there are big equations and big derivations. If I go for the deriving all the equations, then uh, it may not be possible to me to cover this subject. Okay, so some big equations I am taking directly, and that is not applicable for your content. Okay, but you should know that concepts. Okay, now what are that concepts? First, the concept elasticity is started from the forces. Elasticity is started from the forces. That means forces acting on the body. Okay, why this is coming? It is coming because of the action and because of the forces. Now what are the different types of forces acting on the body? Can anyone tell what are the different types of forces acting on the body? Yes, can anyone tell what are the different types of forces acting on the body? Akshay Patil, can you tell what are the different types of forces acting on the body? Akshay Patil.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So forces by which means, means
Means here forces, the forces which you have studied.
which conditions? There
Now
are
in here there are lot of forces, but there are three major.
Lateral,
Yes.
longitudinal,
Here.
lateral,
Okay.
longitudinal.
Okay, okay. See here, this you are taking on the basis of direction. But see here, there are a lot of forces acting on the body. But all these forces are classified into three categories. What are that three categories? I will tell you. One is body force. One is body force. Now, body force means what? Body force is a force which is uniformly distributed over the volume. I have written here force distributed over the volume. That means it is uniformly distributed over the volume. So, this force is uniformly distributed over the volume. It is measured in terms of the Newton per meter cube or intensity of the force per unit volume. Okay, bear with this. You see here, this is measured in terms of the force per unit volume. Its unit is Newton per meter cube, Newton per millimeter cube, like that. Okay, that means it is acting on the volume, or it is distributed, equally distributed over the volume. Now, if if you ask me examples of these forces, what are these examples? If you consider the gravitational force, if you consider the gravitational force or weight density is force per unit volume. Okay, do you agree with this? Now, if we consider these forces, magnetic force, gravitational force, inertia force. Okay, so here units of all these forces are in terms of Newton per meter cube, Newton per millimeter cube. Why? Because these forces are equally distributed over the volume. Over the volume. Are you getting this? It is known as a body force. It is known as body force. That means weight of the body, weight of the component, weight of the any particular part. It is considered as a body force. Okay. Now, see here, this is magnetic force. Magnetic force is also distributed over the volume. Gravitational force, it is also distributed over the volume. Inertia force, it is also distributed over the volume. Okay. Now, when we consider the body, or when we consider the element, now these are the body forces. See here, there are three directions in global system. Okay, and if we consider the body force, see here, if we consider the gravitational force, it is acting only in downward direction. But if we consider the magnetic force or inertia force, that are acting in any number of directions. That means it may act in x direction, it may act in y direction, it may act in z direction. Okay, that is, here these are the three components of the body forces. That is force in x direction, force in y direction, and force in z direction. So your body force matrix, it becomes Fb is equal to Fbx, Fby, Fbz. Okay, where with this? This is the body force. Any doubt in this case? If you have doubt, you can ask me. Here, this is the force per unit volume. We will not classifying the forces, that is concurrent forces, axial forces, lateral forces, like that. What we are classifying? We are classifying the major types of the body forces, major types of the forces. Okay. Now, first major type is body force. First major type is body force. Now, this is body force, and if we consider this body, see here, if you consider any body, and if we consider the weight, then that weight is acting in downward direction. Now, how it is acting? It is acting, or it is distributed equally over this volume. Okay. Now, if there is a magnet here, and if we apply the magnetized force on this body, then that force is also distributed over the volume. Okay. Do you agree with this? Now, this is about the body force. Any doubt here? अक्षय का डाउट है ना?
nine. Nice.
Okay. Now next force is surface force. Surface force. Now surface force is acting on the surface. That means it is uniformly distributed over the area. It is distributed over the area. Therefore, here this, it is the force distributed over the surface area. Okay, so it is measured in terms of the force per unit area. Now here it is pressure. It is known as pressure load. It is known as pressure load. Now that pressure, it is considered as a force per unit area. Okay. Now pressure, force, traction are termed as a pressure, or that termed as a surface forces. Okay. That are termed as a surface forces. Okay. Now here, if we consider this body, or you can consider this as a element also. It is a triangular element, and this thickness we are assigning through the software. Okay. This is the one body. Now if we consider the force acting on this body, force acting on this surface, we can say this surface, if it is uniform distributed over the surface, then it is termed as a pressure force, or it is termed as a surface force. It is considered as a surface force. Okay, this is surface force. Now when we consider this surface force, and in case of 3 dimensions, it has 3 components. It has 3 components. You can see here this force. If we consider this as a pressure force, this has a pressure force. Now it has 3 components. One is in x direction, one is in y direction. Okay, and also it has third component, that is in z direction. That is, it is x direction, y direction, and z direction. Okay. Now this component, this is a pressure normal to this surface, normal to this surface. But when we write the equations in global coordinate system, we have to resolve that forces into forces in global directions. Okay, that means that surface load we have to resolve in global directions. Now global components are components of these forces in the global direction. Okay, are components of this pressure in global directions are px, py, pz. Okay, now you can see here this is px, py, pz. These are the 3 components of any pressure acting on the body. See here, it may be in only in x direction. If your body is like this, you can see here. If your body is like this, okay. If your body is like this, and if I apply the force here, that will be normal to this vertical surface. And if it is normal to this vertical surface, then this direction of this force is only x, that means it has only x component, and y and z components are 0. If we apply the surface on this if we apply the force on this surface, that is pressure on this surface, okay, it has only y component, and in that situation x and z components are 0. Okay, and same thing when we do on this surface, okay, on this surface, then it has only z component, okay. This is your px component, and this one is your py component. Okay, do you agree with this? Now here I have taken this body, and in this body you have pressure. It is not in x direction, y direction, and z direction, but it has components in x, y, and z direction. Okay, have you got it? There may be possibility of only 2 components, there may be possibility of 3 components, and there may be possibility of the only 1 component. Okay, this is the pressure load. Any doubt here? Yes, Shreyas Chogle. Shreyas, Saira Shinde. Any doubt? Okay. Now,
सर
yes.
सर ते या डायग्राम मध्ये 2च डायरेक्शन मध्ये फोर्सेस आहेत ना, px आणि py, आणि pz मग 0 होईल.
Yes, it may be possible.
Yes.
Already I have told you, that means if you consider the body, there may be only 1 component, there may be 2 components, there may be 3 components. Okay, already I have told you, that is, there may be only px depending upon the direction of the load, there may be only py, there may be only pz, or there may be combination of 2, or there may be combination of 3. Okay, do you agree with this? Generally there is a combination of 2, or there is only 1 force. Okay, because it is acting on the surface. Over.
Yes, sir.
Next one. Next force is point load or concentrated load. Point load or concentrated load. Now this force is acting at the point. It is acting at the point. It is measured by its magnitude only. Measured by its magnitude and direction. It is not in terms of the force per unit area or force per unit volume. Okay. Now you can see here in finite element method. In finite element method, these forces are considered as a nodal loads. If we these are considered as a nodal loads, if we consider this triangular element, if we consider the triangular element, okay, this is a node 1, node 2 and node 3. Okay, if we consider point load, then it is acting at the node. It is acting at the node. It may have x component, y component as well as z component, Now see here how it is z component. I will show you. See here, if we consider 3D element, this is a 3D element. If we consider this 3D element, it is hexadron element, x element we can say. Okay, and if we consider the load at the point or concentrated load, see here, this node we will consider. It may have component in x direction. Okay, it may have component in y direction, or it may have component in z direction. Do you agree with this? Okay. Now on this element I will show you. Now if we consider the self weight, or if we consider there is some magnetic force, then that is coming under the body force. And if we apply the pressure at this location, or if force is uniform distributed, then it is considered as a pressure load, and this is point load. Okay, you agree with this? Your body load is this one. It is uniform distributed over the volume. Now in triangular element, here it has also thickness. But that thickness is very small. Therefore, we are neglecting that, or not. We are neglecting. In softwares or in solving the problems, we are considering it. Your pressure load is acting on this surface. Okay, is acting on this surface. Do you agree with this? Actually, element is triangular, but it has all three dimensions. See here, thickness is a user input for triangular element. That is a pressure load. Okay, and this one is point load. Okay, and this is considered as a nodal load. Here, this load is acting on the node, or we are putting the node where there is a point load. Okay. Now it has also three components. Therefore, this you see here, this is a nodal load at this location. It has fx, fy and fz component, and this force is in this form. Okay, over. Have you got it? Any doubt in this case? Here I have shown this as a triangular element. Triangular element already I have told you while selection of the element, that is in first unit. Here actually we are discretizing the body with two-dimensional elements, but we are assigning thickness as a user input. Okay, where there is a very small thickness. Do you agree with this? Therefore, that element has a thickness. Your pressure load is acting like this. Pressure load is acting like this. Okay. It may be uniform distributed load. It is acting on the surface, and body load is acting over the volume. This one. Okay, and this is your point load. Have you got the difference between these three? Have you got? Rishikesh Dore.
Yes, sir.
Number of students are less today. Why? 49 students are there only. Ask others to join. It is very important thing. Now, these are the different forces acting on the body. Here you can consider any force except thermal load. You can consider any load. If you consider the axial load, if you consider the lateral load, if you consider the shear load, or if you consider the concurrent forces, non-concurrent forces, all these forces are coming under this any one of these three category. Okay, do you agree with this? If we go for the shear load, it is a surface force. If we go for the axial load, if we go for the lateral load, it may be pressure load or it may be point load. Okay, axial load, it is a point load. Do you agree with this? Okay, that means all forces, all types of forces are coming under either body load or point load or pressure load. Okay, so these three are considered as the three major types of the forces. Okay, the three major types of the forces depending upon the uh, line of action of the force, depending upon the distribution of the force or intensity of the force, we are considering it as a body load or point load or pressure load. Okay. Now, after discussion of the different types of forces, what is effect of the force? What is effect of the force? Now, when we consider the body force, when we consider the body force, here, when we consider the body force, here this is a body and this body force, then this body force is going to displace the whole body. This body force, it is going to displace the whole body. Where is this? That means it will create the displacement in the body. Displacement in the body. Now when we go for the pressure load, this pressure load is also going to create the displacement in the body. Okay. Now when we consider the point load is going to create the displacement of the point or that edge. Okay. Or in finite element method, it is going to create the displacement of node. Okay, so here in all cases you will get the displacement in node, but in case of body force you will get the displacement of element as a whole. Element as a whole. In case of pressure load, also we are getting the displacement of element as a whole. Okay, but in case of point load, we can get the displacement of uh, node. Okay, why I am saying like this? Because here without constraint we cannot solve the problems. That means without constraint means there should be support to the body. If we give the support to here, if you have this type of plate, it is supported at this location and it is meshed like this. This meshed like this. Now when we apply the uh, pressure load at this location, load at this location, it is if we consider this element, you will get the displacement of element, and if we apply the point load at this location, you will get the nodal displacement only. Okay, so effect of the force, that means after understanding the types of forces, we should have understand the effects of the force. Effects of the force is displacement. Effects of the force is displacement. Now, see here this I will explain uh, by considering the finite element method. In finite element method, what we are doing, where yes, someone is asking to asking question. Who is asking question? If you have doubt, you can ask me. Yes. Ah, yes. Pratik Patil. Do you want to ask? Yes. Pratik Patil. Okay, he is not in the lecture. Someone is calling him. Okay. Now, effect of the force is displacement. Now, this displacement I will explain by considering the type of element. Now, when we go for the one dimensional element, here there may be linear element, there may be higher order element. Okay, do you agree with this? Now, this is the shape of the one dimensional element. Now, when you can apply the any load. Here, if we consider the three dimensional view of the element, it is like this. Okay. Now, if I apply the pressure here, then it will create the displacement of the node. And if we consider the nodes, there are two nodes and you have two displacements. Already you have seen it, u1 and u2. Okay, u1 and u2. So this is the element and I have taken here linear element. In this chapter also we will take the linear elements. Okay, now here displacements are u1 and u2. Here node number 1 and node number 2. Displacement are node u1 and u2. Now we have written the polynomials for these displacements. We have written the polynomials for these displacements. Now what are that polynomials? Here we have written this equation, that is u is equal to n1 u1 plus n2 u2. Here n1 n2 are the shape functions. Okay, n1 n2 are these shape functions. Now this we can write in matrix form, that is u is equal to n1 n2 u1 u2. Okay, u is variable displacement, and n1 n2 are the shape functions, and this u1 and u2 are the nodal displacements. Now in short, we are writing this equation, and this is a general equation for all elements, and depending upon the element and its degrees of freedom, this u shape function and u will be changed. That I will explain here. You see here, you have to remember this equation. This equation is the general equation of displacement. That is shape function into nodal displacement. I have used the same notations. This is your variable displacement and this is your nodal displacement matrix. Now this one is this matrix. Okay, where is this? And this is this term. Okay, and shape function is this one. Okay, now same thing when we go for the two-dimensional elements. For two-dimensional elements, you have this triangular element. If you have quadratic element, you can see here this is your displacement in x direction, displacement in y direction. Okay, this is your displacement in x, displacement in y, displacement in x, displacement in y, this is your displacement in x, displacement in y. Okay, now it has four nodes here. That nodes are one node is here, one node is here, one node is here, and last node is at this location. That is 1 2 3 4 nodes. So your u displacement equation becomes n1 u1 plus n2 u2 plus n3 u3, okay, and plus n4 u4. Okay, depending upon the your element, type of element, your displacement matrix will be changed, or displacement will be changed. Again, it has also u and v. Here this is your u and this one is v. Now for triangular element, u is equal to ni ui nj uj nk uk, or n1 u1 n2 u2 n3 u3, and displacement in y direction n1 v1 plus n2 v2 plus n3 v3. Now for this element, again v is equal to, because it is also two dimensional, it has also 2 degrees of freedom per node, that is displacement in one y direction and x direction. Okay, here n1 v1 plus up to n4 N4 V4, N4 V4. Now already I have explained this for triangular element. Here also we will use triangular element. Okay, and last unit we will go for this type of elements, because see only number of equations are increased. Only number of equations are increased, and see here it is not possible to solve big equations. Okay. Now here for triangular element, okay, for triangular element we can write this in matrix form, that is u and v. U is a displacement, variable displacement in x direction, and v is the variable displacement in y direction, equal to the shape function matrix. Already you have seen this equation. This is your ni 0, nj 0, nk 0, 0 ni, 0 nj, 0 nk into ui, vi, uj, vj, uk, vk. Okay. Already you have seen this equation. Now this equation also you can write in short form as a u is equal to n into u. You can see here. See here, this equation is same to your one dimensional. This equation, okay, it is for one dimensional, but this is for two dimensional. Here, this u is u into v or uv, u and v. Now this shape function matrix is ni 0, nj 0, nk 0, 0 ni, 0 nj, 0 nk, and this displacement matrix is your ui, vi, uj, vj, uk, vk. Okay. Here same thing you will get for all elements. Only depending upon the degrees of freedom, number of nodes, and order of the element, you will get the change in your shape function matrix and the displacement matrices. Okay. You see here, this is your matrix. You can see here. This I have written u only, but it is in the form of matrix. So in derivation of the finite element equation for structural problem, I am taking this as a matrix. Okay. Bear with this. This is also one matrix. This is shape function matrix, and this is a nodal displacement matrix. Okay. Are you getting this? लक्षात आहे का नाही? अक्षय पाटील तयार
हा,
आहे? मराठी सांगतो तुम्हाला, प्रत्येक इलेमेंटला हेच इक्वेशन असते, शॉर्ट फॉर्म मध्ये हेच इक्वेशन असते. फक्त त्याचं काय असते, हे यू तुम्ही कुठल्या टाईपचं इलेमेंट आहे, वेदर इट इज वन डायमेन्शनल, टू डायमेन्शनल, थ्री डायमेन्शनल, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन दॅट दिस यू विल बी चेंज. फॉर इफ वी गो फॉर थ्री डायमेन्शनल, your u, this u matrix will be u, v and w. It has three components. लक्षात, थ्री डायमेन्शनला गेला थ्री कंपोनेंट येतात. नंतर शेप फंक्शन मॅट्रिक्सची साईज वाढते. ओके. नाउ हियर इन this matrix you will ui, vi. For three dimensional I will write here ui, vi and wi. Okay, wi. Next uj, vj, wj. Okay, uk, vk, wk. Next ul, because it has four nodes, if we consider the tetrahedron linear three dimensional element, ul, vl and wl. Okay. Now one here it has 12 components. Okay, it has 12 components. Sorry, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Yes, it has 12 components. Okay, when we go for three dimensional element, it is tetrahedron element. Do you agree with this one? It has 4 nodes. Okay, it has 12 components. Now when we go for two dimensional rectangular element or chord element, you can see here also you have u and v, but here ui, uj, sorry, ui vi, uj vj, uk vk, and ul vl. That means I will tell you in terms of one, u1 v1, u2 v2, u3 v3, u4 v4. Okay, that means it has 8 components, 8 components in the displacement matrix. Now if we go for the brick element, or if we go for the hexadron element, you can see here this element, it has this 4 and this 4, 8 nodes, and at each node there are 3 displacements, because it is 3-dimensional element, 3 displacements, and 3, it has 24 components. That means you will get this matrix, size of this matrix is 24 rows and 1 column. Are you getting this? Okay, but this relation will not be changed depending upon the element. Number of terms in this equation are changed. Okay, do you agree with this? This is a general equation. You can use this for all types of elements. Okay, any doubt here? Any doubt? Akshay Shinde,
No, sir.
have you got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one, strain. Now strain is because of the displacement. Strain is because of the displacement. Now if we go for the strain, you see this one, for one-dimensional case, your strain is only in one direction. It is only in one direction. That is, strain is equal to du by dx. Already you have seen it. Strain is equal to change in displacement with respect to x. Change in displacement with respect to x. Now when we replace this u by product of n into u, that means if you have u is equal to n1 u1 plus n2 u2. Now your display strain matrix or strain term becomes dn1 by dx into u1, dn2 by dx into u2. Okay, because u1 and u2 are the constant terms, and n1, n2, these are the shape functions, these are variable terms. Now this we can write in matrix form. You can see here, already you have seen this. This is in matrix form. We are doing everything in matrix form. Okay. Now here derivative of this one, it is for linear element it is minus 1 upon L, and this is 1 upon L. Okay. So you see here, because n1 is x2 minus x1, x2 minus x, n1 is x2 minus x upon L. Now when we differentiate this, you will get the minus 1 upon L, and n2 is x minus x1 upon L, okay. When we differentiate this, you will get 1 upon L, so you will get strain matrix is equal to minus 1 upon L, u1 u2. Okay. Now what I want to say here again, if we go for the higher order one-dimensional element, here number of shape functions are more. That means if we go for the 3-noded element, it is quadratic element, then number of shape functions are 3. That means one more term will be increased here, and in this matrix also one more term will be increased. Okay, do you agree with this? That we will discuss in last unit. Next one, epsilon x. Here this is a strain matrix. For one-dimensional case, we will get only one term, but if we go for 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional, we will get the more terms in the strain matrix. Okay. Now this matrix, it is the matrix formed by the derivative of the shape functions. It is your B matrix. Our notation we are using as a B matrix. So it is epsilon is equal to B into U, and this U is your nodal displacement matrix. Now this equation is also same for all elements. Only thing is, depending upon the type of element, this matrix will be changed, this B will be changed, and this U will be changed. Okay. How it will be changed, I will show you for 2-dimensional elements. Here again, this we are considering as a general equation, that is epsilon is equal to B into U. Why I have written this epsilon in matrix form? Because for one dimensional we will get only one term, but for two dimensional and three dimensional we will get it in matrix form. Okay. Next one. Now when we go for the two dimensional elements, two dimensional elements has three strains. Already you have seen, and at the time of last lecture also I have asked you to solve one problem. In that also you have done it. Here epsilon x is delta u by delta x, epsilon y is delta v by delta y, epsilon not epsilon, gamma xy, it is a shear strain, it is delta u by delta y, delta v by delta x. Now already you have seen this. This is epsilon x. By replacing u is equal to n into u, that is ni ui nj uj nk uk. V, this will be like this. Now v will be ni vi nj vj nk vk by delta y is there. Okay. Next one. This is your second equation, and this one is your third equation. It is a shear strain equation. Do you agree with this? Now here these are the shape functions. When we put these shape functions in the derivative of these shape functions with respect to x, you will get bi, bj, bk, and with respect to y we will get ci, cj, ck. Already you have seen it. Here above equations can be written in matrix form. You see this one and you will get this one. Okay. Now this equation also can be written in matrix form like this. Here already I have told you strain is a matrix for this one. This is a one column matrix, and you see here epsilon is equal to b into u, and same thing you have got here for one dimensional case. Epsilon is equal to b into u. Only thing is, in this element epsilon is equal to only epsilon x, b is minus 1 upon L, and this u is equal to u1 u2. Now for two dimensional element, epsilon is equal to this matrix epsilon x, epsilon y, and gamma xy. B is 1 upon 2a bi, or it may be b1 0, bj 0, bk 0, 0 bi ci, 0 cj, 0 ck, ci bi, cj bj, ck bk, and u is ui vi, uj vj, uk vk. Already you have seen it. Okay. Now when we go for three dimensional element, I will not go for three dimensional element, but I will tell you idea of this one. In case of three dimensional element, here this matrix has 6 components. One is epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, gamma xy, gamma yz, and gamma zx. That we will discuss. That I will show you later. Now this matrix has depending upon the element, 8 to 12 terms are there. That means it is a 12 by 12 matrix. Okay, and it has ui vi wi, uj vj wj, uk vk wk, and ul vl wl. Okay, that means u1 v1 w1, u2 v2 w2, u3 v3 w3, u4 v4 w4. At least or minimum 12 quantities are there. For three dimensional. That means three dimensional element, it is starting from 12 equations. Strain equation for three dimensional element is starting from 12 quantities or 12 simultaneous equations. Okay. So process is same. Only number of equations are more. So that type of solving that number of equations by manual is not feasible. It is very complicated thing. So it is not included in the syllabus. Okay. But you can understand yourself also. If you get one dimensional and two dimensional, you can get three dimensional also. You have to remember this equation, and depending upon the problem, you have to select strain matrix, B matrix, and U matrix. Depending upon the problem or element, you select the type of element. You select this epsilon matrix, B matrix, and U matrix. Okay. Any doubt here? Any doubt? Kaustubh Hansate. Kaustubh? Sairaj Shinde.
Hello.
Yes, if you are out, you can ask me.
नाही.
Kunal Patil. कुणाल पाटील
सर डाऊट नाही आहे सर.
नाही ना. महेश
नाही.
जालते.
Hello.
महेश हा येस
Hello,
इफ यू आर
sir.
आउट येस हा.
No, sir. Understood.
पंडित श्रीनिवास. पंडित. ऋतुजा माने.
नो डाऊट सर.
ऋतुजा माने.
Yes, sir.
Have you got it?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
it is not new thing. Already you have. That's why I have taken IAC yesterday. Okay, because it is part of that IAC, and these things we have to use in structural analysis. Now, this is about the strain terms, or you have to remember this. This is a strain matrix. Epsilon is equal to B into U. Now, this is about the strain matrix. Now, after strain, here. From force you will get the displacement. Because of displacement you will get the strain, and because of the strain you will get the stress. Okay. Now so your next concept is a stress. Now in stress I will tell you I will start from 3-dimensional. Now stress strain relation. You know the stress strain relation. What is the stress strain relation? Can anyone tell? Akshay Shinde, what is the stress strain relation?
Stress is directly proportional.
Stress is directly proportional to strain.
Okay. See here, this stress is directly proportional to the strain. Okay. Stress is directly proportional to the strain, or stress is equal to modulus of elasticity into strain. It is applicable for one-dimensional problem. Actual relations for three-dimensional problems are different. I will start from the three-dimensional problems. Now here, these equations are big equations. I will not go for detailed derivations of these equations, and it is not required. You have to it is a what we can say. It is for understanding the one-dimensional and two-dimensional, or for understanding the notations required for the formulation of finite element equation. Okay. Now see here, do you know this equation? श्रेयस चौगुले हे इक्वेशन माहित आहे का? श्रेयस चौगुले, do you know this equation?
नाही सर, लक्षात नाही.
अक्षय पाटील माहित आहे का रे?
हा माहित आहे की सर.
हा, श्रेयसला माहित नाही बघ हे इक्वेशन. Now, Sairaj Shinde, do you know this one? If we consider the three-dimensional body.
हॅलो सर.
Yes.
तर ते इक्वेशन समज ते म्यू कसं आलं त्यात ते काय कळालं नाही.
I will tell you. See here, this is a strain in x direction. Now, when we apply the load on the body in three directions, okay, means this one. Here, sigma x is there. This one is sigma y.
हा समजलं सर, समजलं.
Yes, and this is sigma z. Do you know Rushikesh Kumbar?
Yes, sir.
Do you know this equation?
Yes, sir.
अरे हे श्रेयस मी शिकवलेलं आहे स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मटेरियल मध्ये.
सर आलं लक्षात आलं सर, ते माझ्या लक्षात आलं नव्हतं ते एकदम.
हा, see here, this is a linear strain in x direction, and this is the lateral effect of the sigma y and sigma z. Okay, that is mu sigma y upon e, mu sigma z upon e. Here mu is a Poisson's ratio. Okay, do I agree with this? This is a total strain in x direction. Okay, same thing when we repeat for epsilon y. This is the total strain in y direction. Okay, and this is the total strain in z direction. I think you are well familiar with these equations. Already you have studied in strength of materials. This sigma epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z. That is strain in x direction, strain in y direction, and strain in z direction. Now same thing when we repeat or when we use for shear strain. Shear strain, you know the relation between the shear strain and shear stress. What is that relation? What is the relation between shear stress and shear strain? Yes? Modulus of rigidity. Shear strain, it is equal to the shear stress upon modulus of rigidity. Shear stress upon modulus of rigidity. This equation also you know, I think this also I have covered in strength of materials. Okay, for your batch. This one, that is gamma xy is equal to tau xy divided by g. Gamma xy is your shear strain. Shear strain in xy direction. Tau xy, okay, this is a shear strain, shear stress, okay. Now here g I have replaced by relation between the E and G, that is modulus of elasticity and modulus of rigidity. G is your modulus of rigidity, okay, that is shear strain is equal to shear stress upon modulus of rigidity. Do you agree with this? And modulus of rigidity I have replaced by relation between the modulus of elasticity and modulus of rigidity. That means G 1 upon G is equal to 2 into 1 plus mu divided by E, or you know this equation, E is equal to 2G into 1 plus mu. Am I right? 1 plus mu. G is your modulus of rigidity, E is your modulus of elasticity. Okay. Just I have used this equation and I have replaced the G by this term, that is 2 into 1 plus mu upon E. Okay. Do you know this equation? Stress हे पण माहित आहे ना?
Yes sir, माहिती आहे.
Now next is gamma yz. Gamma yz, it is shear stress in yz direction divided by modulus of rigidity. Modulus of rigidity, again I have replaced the G by this equation, that is by the relation, okay. And gamma zx or xz, it is tau zx divided by G 2 into 1 plus mu upon E. I think all these 6 equations you have studied in second year, okay, strength of materials. Or now what I will do, I will write this in matrix form. What is matrix form here? On right side you have strain matrix, that is epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, okay, and 3 normal strains and 3 shear strains, gamma xy, gamma yz, gamma zx, okay. Do you agree with this? It is on not right, on left side. On left side, strain matrix, it is one column matrix. On right side, there is a stress matrix, that is sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, and tau xy, tau yz, tau zx. And middle matrix is a material property matrix. How I can write? I will show you. You see this one. Now epsilon x is equal to sigma x by E minus mu sigma y by E minus mu sigma y by sigma z by E. Okay, this is your first equation, and remaining terms are 0, 0. Then epsilon y is equal to minus mu sigma x by E, sigma y by E minus mu sigma z by E. Okay, next epsilon z is equal to minus mu sigma by E minus mu sigma y by E, then sigma z by E. Okay, have you got first 3 equations? Same to last one. Here have you got these 3 equations from the matrix? Okay, or is it same? Next gamma xy, you see here, this is the first, second, third and fourth, and this fourth. Now 2 into 1 plus mu upon E, and this is gamma yz equal to the 2 into 1 plus mu upon E into tau yz. Okay, gamma zx, it is 2 into 1 plus mu upon E into tau zx. Okay, this is the 3-dimensional strain in terms of the stress. 3-dimensional strain in terms of the stress. See here, you have studied all the things, but only concern is here we are writing in some different form, that is simple form we are writing, we are using simple form. That's why complications are increased. Okay, सोपं करायचं असतं त्यामुळे कॉम्प्लिकेशन वाढत जाते. कारण if you want to solve this what we can say, by using simultaneous equations, it is not a simple thing, but if you use matrix form it becomes simple. Okay, now this is the strain in terms of the stresses. But what happens in finite element method, we are calculating the displacement first, and after calculating the displacements we are calculating the strain, and from the strain we are calculating the stresses. Okay, where is this? So we need the inverse of middle matrix. Here I will not go for the complete derivation of this inverse. Okay, I will give direct equation. If you want this, you come for extra lecture, because it is not part of the finite element method, it is part of the theory of elasticity. Okay, do you agree with this? So I will not go for the inverse of this one, or you can refer the books on solid mechanics or theory of elasticity. Any book on theory of elasticity, you will get the inverse of this one. Okay, now see here, in finite element method we are calculating the first displacements, then we are calculating the strains, and then we are calculating the stresses. So for stress calculation from the strains, we need this equation in terms of the stress. Now how we can write this equation? Just we have to take the inverse of this, and that equation will be like this. Okay, and one more thing I want to tell you here you have up to 2-dimensional elements. Okay, 3-dimensional elements are not in your syllabus, because if we go for 3-dimensional, only number of equations are increased. Okay, and solving that equations, it is not simple task, it is very time consuming, so we are not going for 3-dimensional. Okay, but for completion purpose I am writing this as a 3-dimensional stress in terms of the strain. Okay, now this is known as a generalized Hooke's law. You have studied Hooke's law. In Hooke's law, what you have studied? Stress is directly proportional to the strain. Here also stress is directly proportional to the strain, but you have taken only one-dimensional case. It is stress sigma is equal to E into epsilon. Here you can see here, this middle term from here to here, this matrix or this term is formed by the material property matrix. Okay, now in general this is known as a stress matrix. This is your stress matrix, and this is a material property matrix, and it is a constant matrix because properties of the material are constant. Okay, and this is strain matrix. Okay, in short form it is written like this, that is sigma is equal to D into epsilon. Now sigma is your stress matrix, D is material property matrix, and epsilon is a strain matrix. Okay, epsilon is strain matrix. Now here also, depending upon the problem, this relation will be changed. If it is a one-dimensional problem, D matrix will be changed, sigma matrix will be changed, epsilon matrix will be changed. If it is a two-dimensional, again this will be different, and if it is three-dimensional, your sigma matrix is this one, D matrix is this one, and epsilon matrix is this one. Okay, have you got it? I think here not necessary to understand all the things here. You have to remember only this is a stress in terms of the strain, and this is a general equation for the stress in terms of the strain. Okay, now here this equation we can use for two-dimensional. Now for two-dimensional there are two cases. One is a plane stress case and one is a plane strain case. I will explain the plane stress case. Plane stress case means all stresses in one direction are zero. Are you getting this? All stresses in one direction means if we consider the z direction, sigma z is the stress in z direction, tau xz is also stress in z direction, tau yz is also stress in z direction. Okay, That means these three stresses are 0. Okay. Your remaining terms are sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy. Okay. That means these are only non-zero stresses, and so you have to write the equations for epsilon x. Epsilon x is equal to sigma x by E minus mu sigma y by E, and there is one more term mu sigma z by E, and that term is 0 for plane stress condition. Okay, for plane stress condition. Have you got it? For plane stress condition, sigma z is equal to 0. Next, so your epsilon y equation becomes sigma y by E minus mu sigma x by E. Okay, and tau xy is tau xy by g. Same equations I have used. Okay, do you agree with this? Gamma xy is tau xy by g 2 into 1 plus mu upon E into tau xy. Okay. Now, why these equations are reduced? Because it is a plane stress condition. Plane stress condition means here sigma z, tau yz, and tau zx are 0. Okay. Now